Hey guys, so this is supposed to be day one of Inktober, and the prompt for day one was fish, is fish. And the moment I saw the prompt, like I was going through the prompts list, and the first thing that showed up was fish, right? And I was like, the moment I saw fish, I knew I wanted to make something Aquaman related. I could have tried doing something Nemo related as well. Nemo is the Aquaman equivalent in the Marvel universe, and I thought of drawing him as well, but I'm genuinely just a bigger Aquaman fan. So I was like, all right, fair enough. Let's make something Aquaman related. At first, I thought I'll just draw him swimming around with fishes, but then I wanted something just a tad bit funnier, maybe, and or something a little bit more comical looking. So I went ahead and I thought of the next thing that that came to my mind when I thought of the word fish, and Nemo was the first thing that showed up. And I was like, all right, so let's make something Nemo and Aquaman related. So it's kind of supposed to be a jab at the whole Finding Nemo thing. And I mean, Aquaman is a very heavy hitter in the whole underwater superhero uh, uh, area. So I wanted to create something based around that. So I was like, all right, fair enough. Let's create something. So I went ahead. I started drawing his anatomy out and everything. Also, the anatomy that I'm drawing on Aquaman at the moment is not proportionately the way it would look outside water. So I'm currently trying to draw Aquaman underwater, right? And when refraction happens underwater, things appear magnified. So his anatomical proportions will also look longer, bigger, right? So that's what is happening here at the moment, which is why his body looks a little out of place because it's like when you're underwater, you're not going to see what anatomically a human body would look like outside water. Now I'm just like figuring out the way his hair looks. Again, the thing with hair underwater is, especially if you have long hair, it's just constantly flowing and moving, and it doesn't move around the way it does if wind is blowing on your hair. It's almost like it's just moving on its own. It's got this really fluid motion to it, which is what I wanted to achieve with his hair as well. I mean, I love his blonde, long hair. I'm not the biggest fan of Aquaman with a beard, so I wanted to draw him without one because, like, I mean, if I drew him with one, he'd kind of look very similar to the way Jason Momoa's Aquaman looks. And I love that version of Aquaman as well, but I wanted to draw something that's a little bit more based on his comic appearance. So that's what I went with. Sorry. And yeah, now I'm just like trying to figure out the way the shadows work, right? Because I mean, the entire point of Inktober is to draw with ink, which means heavy emphasis on light and dark and shadows and light areas and all of that. So just figuring all of that out. So I wanted the light source to come from this way, right? And I wanted this entire area to be black. But then now what I'm trying to do is add fish scales to his suit. One thing that has to be kept in mind is there will always be some level of ambient light on a subject, right? Based on the environment it's in. Ambient light essentially is, for example, if light rays hit a subject from this area, right? Everything around him that will reflect light from that source will cast a very, very small amount of light on the shadow area of his body as well, right? So there will always be a certain part of his body that's going to be lit up even in the shadow areas, even though it's not going to be super, super, super bright. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish with this as well. One thing I would advise people to do is when they're applying texture to somebody's suit or an object or anything else, as a matter of fact, the areas, especially I'm talking specifically about ink drawings, by the way, at this point, I would personally always recommend highlighting the dark areas as well, making some areas of the shadow area white, right? Which is what I'm doing with this painting at the moment as well. I'm just figuring out the way that works. So once all of that is done, I then move into color. I then move into figuring out the way colors would look underwater. And that was something I was struggling with a little bit because like his skin would look kind of bluish. Orange does not necessarily look super orange underwater. It's gonna have this really blue tint to it. right? But I didn't want to go crazy with it because then it like starts looking really, really out of place. So I was like, all right, fair enough. I'll get these colors down and then apply an overlay on top of that, which is what I'm doing now. My process is fairly simple. I start with line art, I do base colors, I apply an overlay layer on it, and then I start blocking out the shadows and light based on the colors that I get using that overlay layer. And that is what I'm trying to achieve right now as well. I mean, I've applied the overlay, and I'm trying to figure out the shadows. I get the minute details done, and then I start adding highlights to his fish scales, right? Which is again an important part because like all of that will always happen. I then go ahead and color the line art red and blue. I give it this really airbrush like red and blue look, so it doesn't look like it's just a plain black line art drawing, right? And that almost always adds color to it. And then I color dot just a bit, apply color balance, and then we're done. It's that simple. It's a fairly hefty process, but once you actually figure out the process you have in place for yourself and what allows you to work the fastest, you'll be absolutely fine. I remember making a video about finding your art style as well, and the one thing I said in that as well was art style is nothing more than you working the way you do the fastest possible way you can and getting efficient results. That's essentially what an art style is, right? So I've been experimenting with mine a little bit lately because I've found comfort in drawing these cartoonish characters that aren't completely, you know, cartoon looking. Like they kind of have realistic human figure proportions and features, but they're also very, very cartoonish at the same time, which allows me to have a nice balance of the two. And yeah, that's what I find appealing. So this is done. Day one of Inktober done. I will catch you guys next time. Uh, the link for my Instagram account is in the description. Please leave a follow if you guys like my work. Comment if you want to see something specific, or if you have any feedback, or if you think I can do something a little bit better. And yeah, like and subscribe as well if you want to see more of this. And I will catch you guys next time.